but
that's fine. I can find a way to share it.
I like the RBG frame.
Thank you. No, I saw like a few other ones and I was like, that's definitely like the cutest one.
Yes. We had a picture of my daughter dressed as RBG.
Aww.
I think it was for Halloween, so that's one of my favorites.
I bet.
All right. Come on in, everybody. Share the link. We're going to talk about last night. Want to hear everybody's thoughts. We're also going to talk to Keely about what young people are thinking. All right. Hi, everybody. I hope everybody's doing all right. Welcome back to another Tennessee Holler Facebook Live interview. We're at tnholler.com, at the TN Holler. On Twitter and Facebook is where you can find us. Follow the Holler. Also follow all of these hollers. We're all throughout the state now: Memphis, Murfreesboro, Cookeville, Knoxville, Chattanooga, Harrogate, Tri-Cities, and we even have one in West Virginia. That's all because you guys have been so supportive. We really do count on you. So chip in if you can. A few bucks a month goes a really long way. We really appreciate it. Make it $10 a month or more, and we'll send you one of these pretty cool holler hats. Keely, I'll get you one of these if you want one.
Just I do. And I'll start your address.
Great. Oh, appreciate it. No, but you get one. Thanks for being here. Before we get into like the college DEMS stuff and the delegate, first of all, you were a Biden delegate. How was that experience? Tell us about that real quick.
Okay, so obviously I was pretty upset that it wasn't in person, mainly because I wanted to meet Al Gore because he's my hero. And secondly, I think if I wouldn't have done the roll call, it definitely would have been a different experience, considering that was like my favorite experience ever. But I think it went well.
Yeah. Well, this picture is of you there. This is of you.
It is
at the event. Where was it? Where did you do it?
I was at the Hermitage Hotel in Nashville.
Okay, that was in Nashville. All right. Well, so that segues us into your boy Joe Biden last night was at a debate, and it was one of the most horrific experiences, a debate watching experience I think any of us have ever had. I mean, I'm a little older than you. I've never seen anything like that. I know that everybody has to be pretty shocked by what they saw last night. I mean, I think the big thing that jumps out was his refusal to condemn white supremacists, right? So let's go ahead and watch that moment happen and just kind of process it. It was absolutely ridiculous.
Criticize the vice president for not specifically calling out Antifa and other left-wing extremist groups. But are you willing tonight to condemn white supremacists and militia groups and to say that they need to stand down and not add to the violence in a number of these cities, as we saw in Kenosha and as we've seen in Portland?
Sure,
are you
I'm
prepared
to
specifically
do it?
Well,
I would say almost everything I see is from the left wing.
Can't do
not
it.
from the right.
Immediately.
What do you say?
I'm willing to do anything. I want to see peace.
Then do it, sir.
Say it. Do it. Say it. You want to call him? What do you want to call him? Give me a name. Give me a
white
name.
Supremacists and
white like me to condemn?
White supremacists and right
boys. Stand back and stand by. But I'll tell you what.
Stand back and stand by. Anyway, we all saw what happened. He kept trying to deflect to the left. Keely, you know, I'm older than you. I've never seen anything like it, but nobody should be surprised by this at this point, right? I mean, this is what this guy does.
Yeah, no, I know. I think he kind of definitely like feeds into it. And it's really, really sad. I was talking this morning. I was just like, I think this is not a good time to be a Black and brown person in America. Like, imagine just like children are watching this, and this is the president of the United States failing to condemn white supremacy. I think that's awful. Awful.
Right. Yes. Our children are watching. I think that is the big thing that we have to remember. And it wasn't just that moment. I mean, he obviously had made a point coming into the debate that he was going to try to interrupt Joe Biden as much as possible. He wasn't going to respect the decorum, the rules. And it just, you couldn't help I felt sad watching it, because it was like, this is where our country has come to. This is how far we've fallen. Not surprised at all. Anybody who's been paying attention had to be expecting something like this. This is what he wants. My general feeling is he isn't trying to win this election anymore. I think he knows that the results aren't going to be in his favor. He's trying to steal it, and he's trying to do that by calling into question the election results. He's going to try to say that he won on election night, even though there's going to be millions of outstanding ballots in swing states. What is the sense that you have? I mean, your perspective as a college Democrat, as a young person, do you think that people are listening to him when he tries to question the results of the election, or do you think people see through the ruse?
I mean, you know, I would like to say that people see through it, and I think that people on our side definitely do. But as we found last night, like, I just think that Trump supporters just have a way of, like, you know, like, I always think about that quote that's like, he could shoot someone in like the middle of Manhattan and
Right.
people would still like him. So I think like that just rings really true today. I think people, they want to believe whatever they want to believe, and nothing can change that, sadly. So I kind of think that, like, just, I mean, he said it, that he won't like accept the results of the election, which it's terrifying. You know, it's like, I wish that I could say that something will surprise me at this point, but it's like nothing really will anymore, which is kind of sad. But I just think that we just have to really push to people to vote early in person, honestly, if they can safely.
Right. Voting early and in person, if they can, I think are the things to be focusing on. But it's, you know, it's really a scary thing to see how willing he is to take it all down with him. I mean, he is ready to take the whole thing down behind him. He doesn't care what he leaves. He only cares about himself. You know, the Proud Boys immediately put this up. They were very excited about what he said. You know, and Tennessee has more than our share of white supremacist events here. I think something like 20% of all white supremacist events in America happened in Tennessee in 2018. So there's a heavy presence of this stuff here. And it's just time to figure out what side we're on. I mean, he's trying to win back suburban voters, suburban women especially, and he's got white supremacy tweets trending on Twitter for all the wrong reasons. He's got people like David Brooks pearl clutching, saying they're the most horrified they've been in their career. I mean, he's a pretty conservative guy. And then I just also wanted to flash this from Charlene Oliver, who runs the Equity Alliance, which I'm sure you're well familiar with. She said, there is no middle ground in this election. There is no centrist, no undecideds. Either you're a racist or you're not. You care about Black lives or you don't. Either you believe in all things decent, moral, righteous, and humane, or you don't. There's nothing else to debate. I'm voting for survival. So if your lukewarmness is rooted in trying to justify your alignment with whataboutism, we can't be friends in real life. And she basically said she doesn't understand anybody undecided. Do you see where she's coming from with that?
100%. It's like, at this point, so I was listening to like a podcast this morning that was basically saying that the number of undecided voters at this point is very, very small. Like, of course, some, you know, like some swing states and stuff still probably have some people that are undecided. But I'm like, if you do not have an issue that you care about right now at this point with everything that's going on, like, you're not paying attention, or you just are blind. Like, I don't really know how else to put it.
What do most of the college Dems care about?
So I personally, I'm a big climate voter. I always have been. That's how I got into politics. So that's something that's really important to me. And I think we care about, well, obviously a big thing is like student loans and like just education in general. And then obviously, like, given the current circumstances, the pandemic and race relations.
My age people, like I know some Trump people. I have some neighbors. It just feels like we can't even really we can't even agree on basic facts to discuss. Mm-hmm. Is that how it feels with people your age? Like, is there a better bridge to communicate between yourself? Like, do you talk to college Republicans? Do you talk to college independents, undecideds, or is everybody in their corners?
I think it's a little bit of both. So I do have friends that are Republicans, definitely not like huge Trump supporters, but like people that I've just been friends with for a long time. And then secondly, I just, like I said, I was doing an interview with someone from college Republicans at this morning, and it was very difficult. Like, I'm a very nice person, I would say. And like, it's just hard for me to just see people just be so mean and like all of the time. And I don't know, like this morning I just got really, really upset, like watching like retakes from the debate, particularly about the part about Beau Biden. I'm like, his son is dead, and like what Trump said about that, like I started crying like when I was doing my makeup, which is a really inopportune time to cry, but I was just like, it's just so sad. It's like you say that you're pro-life and like you do all of this stuff, and his followers, you know, like they love to say that and play like the Jesus card, but I'm like, this man is awful. He's an awful person. And I'm like, he has no regard for human beings in general. And it's awful. I hate it.
I don't think I don't think it's possible to overreact to this. So, you know, I share your sentiment. And as much as I like to talk about policy stuff, and I think it's important, and you know, I think we need a clear, to me, progressive agenda to get people excited and voted and voting and motivated. There is something that sort of ties those things together, but also rises above this that I think you're touching on, which is decency. And, you know, Biden definitely exemplifies decency. He has empathy. You can see that he feels it. I could even feel last night as this was happening, like he was sad that it was happening. You know, like he had to power through it and do what he came to do and be strong. And, you know, he's definitely older and probably took a lot of energy for him to do that. But you could also see that as it was weighing on him, the way that Trump was dealing with him, the way that Trump was being such a bully and so insensitive and just vile. He's a vile human being. And so, you know, I think the decency thing is really something that we need to get back to. And I just worry that it's not easy to repair that. So, you know, what do you say to people who aren't college Dems when you're trying to talk to them about becoming one, or at least believing, or you know, what's the entry point?
I mean, for me, it's easy. Like I definitely like looked into any college that I was going to if they did have a college Dem chapter, but there's just so many benefits, honestly, like whether it's networking, whether it's meeting people that are just like-minded, or getting out the vote initiatives. I just think there's so many good reasons to be involved and just to be civically engaged and active on campus. It's definitely made my college experience 100 times better and probably been like a big highlight of it. So I would recommend it to anyone.
That's awesome. I have to admit, when I was your age, I ran for Congress in 2018 here.
I voted for you.
Oh, I appreciate that.
I was from
you're
District
Clarksville,
7.
right? Yeah, you're Clarksville.
Originally.
Yeah, absolutely. Shout out to Clarksville. But when I was your age, I was not involved at all. Like I cared. I watched the Gore Bush election, but I didn't actually get involved. So I appreciate that at your age, you're involved in doing this. And I definitely, you know, let us know how we can help get the word out ever about what you're doing. Corey Clem, who seems to be a fan of yours, says, what was the best line from last night's debate, in your opinion? I'll ask you second. I'll go first. One of the lines that I thought was a good line was when Trump said that Biden called him xenophobic and racist for like cutting off China right as the pandemic was happening, which he didn't do. But and Biden sort of under his breath said that had nothing to do with the pandemic. I thought that was a really good line and kind of a throwaway line. Was there anything that stuck out to you?
100%. Mine was the "just shut up, man." Like I'm ordering that t-shirt.
Yeah, just shut up, man. Like just shut up. You know, he called him a clown. He kept looking at the viewers and saying, like, do you believe this guy? Like using them as a friend, which, you know, again, Trump can't do because he can't humble himself enough to actually need the people. Biden has that humanity that's really important. You know, I supported Bernie in the primary openly, but I think Biden really does have some empathy and a humanity that is so sorely needed right now. Corey, feel free to write what your favorite line was from last night. It's just, there was so much ugliness that it's hard to even remember anything but the ugliness. And then you have, of course, people like Tim Burchett, who is a congressman here in where you are. And he says, debate, you bring your side, I'll bring mine, and we both leave thinking we won. I mean, that's the thing. Like so many people, it just doesn't even matter what happened. Trump even put out an email before the debate happened saying, I won the debate, before it even happened. So like
what he's going to do to the election.
Yeah, exactly. So we're in a sort of a post-truth era. Are there any campaigns specifically that you're excited about that are going on throughout the state right now?
Yes. So of course, when you brought up Tim Burchett, so vote for Renee. I'm super excited about that. And
Renee
besides that,
Hoyos, we should say.
yes,
Yes.
yes. And then so Gloria Johnson, I'm always a big fan of her. Pretty much honestly all of them. I'm really excited to see, and particularly I guess like in redder counties, I'm really excited. You know, in counties that traditionally do not even have Democrats like on the ballot. I'm excited and for like the bravery of those people to run in those districts so people like, you know, me or something can have someone to vote for. I think that's great.
Yes, it's really important for people to run even in the districts where it's an uphill battle, because it helps people come out to, you know, to find the people that are like them. When I was running in Tennessee or in the TN7, you know, obviously Clarksville and Williamson County were their own thing, and there were people there. But in a lot of the districts that I would go to, you know, people hadn't seen a Democrat in years and didn't even know that, you know, their neighbors were Democrats, or people would put out signs. So it's important for people to find each other, because then they can have something to latch onto and dedicate energy to and volunteer. So, you know, it's really, like you said, important. And then Marquita's candidacy is a huge thing for Tennessee. Has that made any waves in Knoxville? Have you seen people getting excited about her campaign?
Yeah, no, I think we're all really excited about her campaign. And like she did come here, but it was the same day as our Tennessee College Democrats convention, so I couldn't go. But yeah, no, she's great, and I'm really excited, especially from like a climate perspective. I'm just really excited about her candidacy.
Good. Yeah, she has a thing this Sunday that everybody should know about. Sarah Silverman's involved. They're doing a fundraiser for her, comedy community fundraiser online. So that's something that people should give to and get involved with. You know, her being a progressive Black woman, centering climate, winning a primary in Tennessee is a really big deal. And she's starting to get shout outs from people. Sarah Silverman I saw, but there are others that are starting to take notice. I think there were some big name progressive people that are trying to help her out. So I would love to see it. I'd love to see her do some debates with Haggerty. I keep saying, because
He
I
won't.
think he won't do it. I know, but like, even in a sense, like Marsha Blackburn debated Bredesen. If she can debate Bredesen, Haggerty should be able to debate Marquita. I don't know why there's not more of a push for that. But anyway, so I just, you know, I appreciate you coming on here talking to us. Tell us, like, just how can people get involved, and, you know, what are some ways that the college Dems are, what are some things you guys have coming up?
Sure. So definitely follow like our socials. That's where we kind of like put out most of the things. But I am really excited to work with our newly elected executive board, and we have a lot of cool things coming out. So we're using Outvote to kind of do like peer-to-peer texting and like to get out the vote, I guess, really until October 5th. So that's something that's really, I think, like a big part of it, just because it is so different this year, just because like college Dems, like we organize like on college campuses, and like obviously we can't do that. So that's a big thing. And we're also just going to try to do like a lot of like voter information. So like not just registering people, but like how to request absentee ballots, like how to do all of that stuff, like just to get people to the polls. Sorry, I'm trying to find like the.
What do you think about the fact that you can vote with a gun ID in Tennessee, but not a college ID?
I can't say that I'm surprised. Like, I don't know. It's crazy. And speaking of that, we're also like pushing for, so at least at UT, we have early voting on campus for 4 days of early voting. So on Friday, we're trying to really push for all days to have early voting at Thompson Bowling. I think that would make it really cool for students. And secondly, just having polling locations like on every campus, I think is super important, you know. But I think, you know, they have a reason why there's not, because they know that college.
Right. They don't want young people voting.
Yeah, which is really
Trey
sad.
Hargett is the king of voter suppression, and, you know, they don't want you guys voting. That's the bottom line.
Oh, it's really sad. And I've talked to him before, and like he's kind of like, I don't know, like he denies it, but he's just kind of an asshole.
No, he's got that thing that all the Tennessee Republicans have, which is like, you know, they're so nice to you in person, but really, you know, it's not about being nice in person. It's about the things that you believe and the things that you do, and they're clinging to power every possible way they can. And you are what they're afraid of. You know, your generation, maturing, getting older, running for office, taking over. The sooner that happens, the better. So, you know, I'm appreciative that you're in the fight, doing what you're doing. Keep standing up. And, you know, people need to realize that white supremacy thing that happened last night, that's not a fluke. You know, this is Roger Stone with the Proud Boys throwing up the Proud Boy okay sign. There's Trump doing it. People would try to tell us that that's not what he's doing there. I don't believe him. Stephen Miller doing the same thing. So this white supremacist footsie that they're playing is not an aberration. This is who they are and who
But
he
Antifa
is.
is who we should be afraid of, right?
Right. Yeah. As Antifa, like, does they have any kind of presence in Knoxville?
See, I don't think it exists. Okay, I'm sorry, but like, it's more like literally like his FBI director said that it is more of an idea than an actual like group or organization. People are dumb and the right just keeps pushing that. And I'm like, okay, can we talk about the fact that we're in the worst economy since the Great Depression and that so many people have died from coronavirus? I'm like, there are other things we could be focusing on besides diverting from every possible thing that Trump says or does. Yeah,
Right.
it's
But
abysmal.
Antifa it's their excuse for clinging to power, for clamping down. You know, that it's their red herring. So that's why they're so committed to it. But I completely agree. It is more of an idea than a group. There are people that consider themselves Antifa that run these social media accounts that show, but their main thing is that they hate racists. That's what Antifa really does. They try to dox racists. They try to expose them, make them lose their jobs. They go into
As they
these like,
should. As they should.
yeah. So like, you know, we've actually had some interactions with Antifa people that have sent us stuff saying, hey, look at this racist in Tennessee. There was a public defender in Cleveland, Tennessee, a public defender who had an anonymous account that he was running being racist, like openly racist, blatantly racist. And then a public defender that's supposed to protect and defend, you know, black people who are accused of crimes. And he was on Twitter being like, you know, saying awfully disgusting racist stuff. And we helped expose him. That's a lot of what Antifa does. The violence in the streets, nobody condones the violence. I'm personally not convinced.
Even Biden. He said
Biden does
like
it.
he's against it.
Right. And I do think that this narrative has been set up by, you know, white supremacists going in, starting these fires a lot of the time, instigating violence, and so that Trump can stand up there and be like, look at the violent BLM protesters and Antifa. I mean, it's all part of the same thing, you know, so, and it's worked to some extent, but hopefully not enough. And we're going to learn more about that on November 3rd. Keely, thanks for doing what you're doing. Stay in touch. Definitely. You know, we do a holler hour on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Jump in with us sometime and talk about some more stuff.
We're also doing endorsements. I meant to say that. So I'm excited about that. We're going to be rolling that out pretty soon.
All right. Well, let us know about that. Send it to us. And we will see everybody tomorrow for our holler hour at Thursday, 2 p.m. Thanks, Keely.
Thanks for having me on.